Make sure you don't miss a thing. Go to starzology.com/newsletter and sign up. Welcome to the Starzology Astrology Podcast. I am your host, Alison Price, and I'm here with my good friend and co-host, Arwynne O'Neill.
Hello, Alison. It's great to be here again.
So nice to have you once more. So this time we're going to be continuing on finishing off our houses, or getting through our houses. We're not even close to finishing yet.
Yeah, I can't believe every time we have a house one scheduled, I'm like, oh my gosh, we haven't done that one yet.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But this time we're going to be doing the first house.
Yeah.
Which is the first of the 12 houses. And if you're new to astrology, then every chart has 12 houses. And the first house is on the left-hand side, just below the horizon. Everybody's got a first house, so you're going to have one. And that's the particular house we're going to be looking at today.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Yeah, it's an important one. And previously we did do the ascendant, which is slightly different, so you can look at that as well. I'll put a link to that. But this time it's the ascendant. So any initial thoughts there, Arwynne?
Yeah, I mean, the first house is obviously not depending actually on your house system. It's the first house regardless, and it's the ascendant. I think the ascendant is the same regardless if it's a whole sign.
Yes.
And there's a lot to unpack about
There is. I think it's the most important house in a chart.
Yeah. Yeah, whether you have anything in it or not.
Yeah. Because it's well, as we're going to get to the main themes, we'll go over those in a moment. But it's really who you are. Yeah. And whether you have planets there or not, you're alive. You've got a body. You are the person.
Absolutely. Oh, and I know we always do this when we talk about houses, but the way we like to think about houses versus planets.
Yeah.
So and signs. So signs are like the characters. Oh, sorry. The characters. Mm-hmm. And the planets are like the actors. So the actor brings something to the role depending on what sign they're in. And then the houses are like the set. So if you're in a performance, it's the actor performing a role in a room or in an environment. Yeah. And that's your houses.
That's right. So each house is a different area of life, as it were. Yeah. So, And
a time of life, too, because we have that thing where it's birth through senescence. Death. Yes. Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of main themes about the first house, so we can certainly chat about each one. I'm just going to mention them in passing. Mm-hmm. Well, not in passing. I'm going to mention them.
In depth, I would say.
But just some general keywords, and we can just discuss this. So this is about your physical body. Mm-hmm. So it's what you look like, your height, your weight, your complexion, your gait, and it shows your actual physical body, and how strong is it or not, and how well
you move.
Yes. Because they call it, don't they, the vehicle you get through life with. Mm-hmm. And this is your body.
Yeah.
And I was reading a thing last week, and someone was saying that your body's only there to carry your brains around, because apparently that all happens in your brain, but you've got to have your body to get your brain out and about. So
yeah, I mean, that's one way of looking at it. I think it's funny. In ancient Egypt, they thought that the brain was totally irrelevant, and that the heart was the seat of the soul, which is a very kind of different perspective from how we think of it these days. Yeah. But even now, neuroscience is coming up with all kinds of interesting things where the brain actually, it obviously controls our thoughts, and that's where we kind of feel like we are seated. Maybe because the eyes are right there too, in the head, but there's memory in all the muscles. There's memory in the heart. There's memory in the gut. And there's memory and throughout the whole nervous system. There's thought in a way. So
they say now, don't they, that the body takes the toll or remembers what's the phrase? I can't remember, but it shows how your life was. It shows through your body.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So this is kind of interesting. So generally, if you've got an air sign on the cusp of the first house, you're tall. And if you've got an earth sign, you tend to be shorter and stocky. Mm-hmm. And there are some ideas like that. Of course, it doesn't matter if you've got planets there or not influencing it.
And it also might be something where people always think you come across taller than you are.
Well, yes.
Right? Because height is
Yeah.
very variable, but a lot of people come across taller or have a taller presence than they really.
Now, Arnold Schwarzenegger's one of those. And you see him on TV. He always looked 6'2".
Yeah.
But I saw him in real life. He
Yeah.
came into Nordstrom when I was there one day. And he's, what is he, 5'11"?
10 or 11. Yeah. And I think his IMDb thing lies, actually, because I had a friend who was, I believe, 5'11" and went as him for Halloween one time.
Yeah.
And he had this photo of him standing next to the real Arnold Schwarzenegger. He had dressed as the Terminator,
Right.
for Halloween, and he was a bouncer at a club. And Arnold actually came to the club. This is like obviously ages ago, but he had this picture, and they were. Arnold was a tiny bit shorter than our friend. So,
and just for clarity, what is IMDb?
Oh, IMDb, yes, it's the Internet Movie Database. Oh my gosh, for anyone who doesn't know, my God.
Sorry.
No, it's funny. My mother, as a longtime listener and fan of the show, is probably laughing as we say this because every time I watch a show or a movie with my mother, she has her laptop open, and she's one of these people who will always be identifying the characters, the actors, and being like, what were they in? She cannot get through a show without knowing. If someone looks familiar, it's like, oh no, I got to look that up. Recently, we watched The Pit together, and I think I've already mentioned this show once before because it's like my favorite show that came out this past year. It's absolutely brilliant.
The Pit.
The Pit. Oh, it's hospital drama. If you don't like blood, you won't like it, but it's reprising Noah Wiley's, one of the stars of ER.
Carter.
Yeah, it's not. He's not playing the same character, but he's now the doctor, the old wise doctor, where he was the youngest one on ER. Anyway, we were watching the show, and my mother, every episode, she's just like, "Oh, and you know who that actor was in?" And I'll be like, "That person looks familiar," and she's like, "Oh, that's because he was in this." Yeah, it's pretty cool. But anyway, that's one of those things.
That's one of those things, yeah.
Yeah.
So how you look and how you present yourself and is definitely a first house thing.
Absolutely. And also I think something about the air signs too, especially Aries and Gemini, I find people tend to look younger than they are.
Wonderful, isn't it? That's
my God, yeah.
So which signs look a little older? I think we both know, don't we?
Can we say?
Oh dear. Maybe not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. If you know, you know.
When you know, you know. Yeah. So one of the next themes for the first house is your own birth.
Oh, yeah.
So this house shows the nature of your birth and whether or not how difficult it was for your mother or how easy it was or how complicated or what went down at the actual event of your birth. So say, for instance, if you've got Mars, which is a planet that rules blood, there is the potential that there may have necessarily been a transfusion at that time or a flow thereof.
Yeah. Yikes.
So, yes.
Speaking of medical dramas.
Yeah. So, or if it was just a blur, I would assume we've got Neptune there. But this will show the nature of your own birth. And this actually is quite handy if you're doing charts for people who are adopted. And I've done a few just to kind of clue people into how it may have been for their mother because they've got no reference to it. So you can look into that as well. And whether you had to go into an incubator or, all these things. Were you born early? Were you born late? This and that. And all the issues that go down at birth.
I don't have a lot of stories about people's birth. I mean, that's not something that people tend to talk about at the pub. But one that I do know of, and this is a really interesting one because I have her chart, is my grandmother, who's also very, very knowledgeable about astrology.
Yeah.
She's got Aries on the ascendant, but just barely. Mm-hmm. And the story, the tale, the lore, the family, myth that comes down from her is that when she was first born, she did not breathe at first and I'm not going to quote the number of minutes because anyone who's medical, professional will be like, that's impossible. But it was an abnormally long time. It was a critically long time. And she was born in the 1920s. And so they didn't have, all the technology that we would have today. But they were, dipping her in hot water and cold water and spanking her and doing all kinds of, things. And she was, turning blue and finally she breathed, and she always maintained that she was just trying to hold her breath until she wouldn't have Pisces rising.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, I like that.
Yes. No.
So she got 0 Aries rising or something?
Something like that.
Oh, how interesting.
Right there. And she does have Chiron in the first house. So, yeah. interesting.
Quite the thing, yeah.
No offense to our Pisces rising people.
No,
we
not
love
at
our
all.
Pisces people.
We
My
do.
grandmother had a bit of a different
attitude, yeah. So this is it. So even though it's in your chart, it shows the nature of your birth. And if you don't know, if you see difficult planets there, you can talk to your mother, who may not have told you just how traumatic it was for her, because you don't want to lay it on your kids. As a mother, I'll know this.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've known people who've had 63 stitches and bit the nurse, but that's the nature of that particular birth, that where things come through. So if you know who your mother is and all the rest of it, it's all fine because it doesn't really matter. But if you are searching, for trying to find perhaps an adoptive parent, and you're not sure about if it's the Pisces or the Aries ascendant, you can check which planets are there. If you've got any record of how the birth went, or was the confusion, was the paperwork done? Did they mess up your name? Did they spell your name wrong? Did you get mixed up in the hospital? I mean, do they do that anymore? But they used to back in the day.
They did.
They absolutely did.
Yeah, sometimes on purpose. Yeah.
Well,
there's all these kinds of crazy stories.
Stuff going on, right?
Documentaries about. I know one more story, and I actually have his chart here.
Yes.
But he's got nothing in the first house, but on the descendant, and like literally conjunct the descendant, is Neptune and Chiron, which is whoa. And I happen to know that his mother, who's a really good friend of mine, when he was born, they gave her a bunch of drugs that reacted badly.
Yes.
She was allergic to them, and they didn't know that. And so she started hallucinating. She saw ghosts. She saw people like dead people in the hospital sitting on her bedside, talking to her. And she kept screaming, like, "Get them off my bed, get them out of here." And the nurses were like, kind of getting super freaked out, right?
Yeah.
Like, why, what's wrong with her? And to this day, she says that he is kind of clairvoyant and kind of sees,
there you go,
ghosts or whatever.
Yeah. So this is it. Yeah, it does. It's very interesting. It doesn't come up often. I mean, not many people are coming up with that sort of thing. But if you've got family and you've got, say you've got some kids, and you can look at their charts and you can see how they experience their birth as well.
And if you see something, crazy that's right on the ascendant or descendant, ask the mother and say, "How was the birth?" No, honestly.
Yeah.
Give her a glass of wine and get the story out of her.
I know. It's very, very, very interesting how that comes through. Yeah. So that's another thing as well.
Yeah.
And then the next main theme for the first house is the first impression you make.
Yeah.
So this is when you meet somebody face to face.
Yeah.
So it's not an impression that you would make when they read your resume on LinkedIn, because that's 10th house, how the world knows you. So this is when you meet people face to face. When you go out your front door, you're dressed, the makeup's on, it's showtime.
Does Zoom count? Because now that's...
Well, yes, because it's face to face.
Oh, good.
Where they're looking at you and they say, "Oh, she's got red hair. Oh, she's this and that." Or
pink
she's
hair, as the case may be.
Well, yeah, she's got pink hair or whatever we've got at the moment. And or she seems friendly, she's smiling, and they will, and your whole, with the colors you're wearing, it's the first impression you're making. Are you making the impression that you're friendly, that you're perhaps wealthy, that you're scruffy, or what are you trying to say? And we all do it when whatever you choose to dress and put on, you are choosing to present an impression.
Absolutely. And these days, I think it really doesn't matter what your actual income is. You can put forth any kind of impression based on how you dress. I mean, these days, it's very easy to put forth an impression that is totally different from your actual economic station, aside from, the incredibly expensive designer bags and that kind of stuff. There's a little limit to it. But even that, you can buy them at a consignment store for,
Walmart. Yeah.
Or, exactly. You can buy them, the knockoffs, whatever, and you can put forth an impression that's very different from your actual thing, your actual persona. Yeah. But even that could, is something in the first house. If you're compelled to put forth an impression that's very, very different from your station, or if you're like a tech billionaire and you only show up in hoodies and, looking scruffy in a t-shirt or whatever.
But this comes through when you go for an interview.
Yeah.
Because if you perhaps have a first house that is showing you as casual, fun, and Barbie pink, you can't be going to an interview and get a job if you've got that sort of a first house. And that is automatically how you are, your first impression you're making. So if you know your chart, you can say, okay, I need to put on a black blazer. I cannot be taken seriously. I'm looking too young and bubbly and irrelevant, or whatever the thing is. When you're trying to get a job, look to your first house and say, what's not working here for me? Why am I struggling to secure these positions,
Right.
and it could be what you're actually wearing,
Yeah.
and the whole,
Yeah. Or, I mean, in addition to that, it could be why are people interpreting me in a certain way?
Yes.
Why do I always have people think that I'm this or that? Why do people always think I'm, too aggressive or too mysterious or too talkative or too
easy,
quiet and not proactive or or like why do people always think I'm flirting with them?
Yeah.
Unless you're just drop dead gorgeous, in which case, people assume that for their own.
This is it.
But yeah, look to the first house, especially that cusp, and there's always something
you could do something about it.
You can do something about it, exactly. If you choose to. Maybe you don't care. Maybe you're like, well, people think I'm standoffish. It's fine, whatever. But if you want to do something about it. I mean, I have Scorpio rising. That's always been a thing where, the first half of my life anyway, people always thought that I was bitchy, that I was judging them, that I was scowling at them. And if I smile a lot of that is a learned behavior of, if I don't smile a lot, people tend to think that I'm mad at them or that I secretly hate them or plotting their doom or something. Yes. And I've had people that I've gotten to know later tell me, oh God, when I first met you, I thought you hated me. And I'm like, why?
Yes.
I was just thinking.
But it's the first impression you're making.
Exactly.
So it's very interesting that actually happens.
Yeah.
That, that you can actually either lean into your first impression or you can do something about it and say, okay, I've got these difficult planets or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I need to perk it up or something because I can't get this job.
Exactly. Speaking for Scorpio rising, I think it's a great shell.
I'm sure.
It's a great protective shell, especially for a young woman living in cities and going out, into the workforce or going to school. And it's a nice protective shell.
Yes.
If you're an introvert,
Yeah. Well, I've seen you on the street with your black coat and the hood's up and
and headphones.
The things are on and maybe the sunglasses. I'm thinking she doesn't want to talk to anybody. Yeah,
just in my shell.
Yeah.
But I'm aware of everything around me.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting one. The first impression there too.
And what about you with your Leo rising?
It's when it's my when I'm just being me. It's it's all. I don't want to say it's over the top, but I wear jewelry. And it doesn't have to be expensive, but I like to wear light colors, bright colors. Yeah. And the hair does its own thing because I'm just being me.
And I'm looking at you and you've got gold earrings. You've got a beautiful necklace with shells. You've got a bright yellow shirt and blonde hair and yellow glasses that are sitting on the desk.
Yeah. But if I'm going for an interview, no. You got to tone it down. I know I've got to tone it down because people are, and it's just who you are, right? But if it's just me going about my business, being me, I will just do me, as you say.
Yeah. Well, I've learned to lean into my Leo midheaven for interviews and stuff, and to try to come across more. Not egocentric, but what's the
confident?
Confident. That's the word. Yeah, and that is not a natural thing for me, but it's gotten more natural over the years, and that we're both.
It's awareness, you see.
Yeah,
it's awareness. Yeah.
But in my 20s, I would have been like, oh God, how do I act confident if I'm not?
Yeah.
Big hair.
Big hair goes a long way. Yeah. So I love the 80s. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the next core theme of the first house is actually your aura.
Ooh.
Now,
here we go.
Not everybody believes in auras, and not everybody clearly can see auras. I certainly can't, but I am aware that they are there. And we know this from this, is it Carolean photography that shows that if you cut a leaf in half, the actual image still shows a full leaf because the aura remains.
That's so cool.
And this shows up when you get in an elevator and you don't want to stand too close to people because they tend to be in your aura. So in general, your aura is about 4 inches or 10 centimeters away from your body.
Your mileage may vary. Some people's might be a little bigger or a little.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, if you're ill, then it's dragging behind you and stuff like that. I once went to a fortune teller and she said I needed to bath in salt because my aura was dragging way behind me.
No.
And she said, you've got to slough it off. So I sloughed it off.
Wow.
But that's why bath salts are quite good if you can take it.
Yeah.
So anyway, so you've got this aura. And people who are allowed in your aura are babies and children because you're quite happy to cuddle a baby, even a puppy or anybody else's kid is quite appropriate for them to come within your aura. But the bloke next door you're not comfortable if he's standing 2 inches away from you. So you've got this aura. So you've got that sort of depth of aura as well. So if you say got Jupiter in your first house, you've got a bigger aura than everybody else. And I think too, if you have planets in your first house, the color of your aura in general will lean towards those planets or even the sign on that cusp.
Yeah, that is really cool. That makes a lot of sense.
So with your Scorpio aura, what color could we suggest your aura might be?
Well, I've heard that, I mean, obviously black is a thing for Scorpio, but also sort of deep reds,
maroons,
purples, maroons.
Dried blood red.
Yeah, and I do love purple and all shades of purple, but
yes.
But yeah.
Oh, there's this new color I've come across, which is becoming my latest thing, and it's called Caput Mortem.
Ooh.
And I don't know, I haven't got it. I'll show you two later. And it's this purpley puce, and it's just the color. And I thought, this is Scorpio, and it's to do with. Anyway, it also used to be called mummy brown.
Okay.
Because used to grind up old mummies and make paint with it. But anyway, so it's this color. You can get it. I've got it on a crayon.
We used to have this paint in our old apartment. We painted a couple of feature walls, and it was called Magma. This is such a Scorpio. And Roger, my partner, is a Scorpio, and I've Scorpio rising. It's such a Scorpio color, but it's like this deep purplish, brownish black.
That's the one.
You'd think painting a wall black would be a terrible idea, but it was such a warm, rich, deep color that it was almost like painting it sort of purple or something warm. It was a welcoming color. Yeah. It was like a deep leather.
It's a Scorpio color.
Yeah, and it was actually a very warm and welcoming shade that actually went well with everything, and it was a perfect feature wall for a very open, airy apartment where we had like kind of light oatmeal colored sofas and things like that. Yeah.
So this is the one I have. This is the crayon I have from Faber-Castell, and it's called Caput Mortem, which means head of death or something, death head or something.
If you darken that, that's exactly the
Scorpio color, and it's such a brilliant color.
Yeah, if you add just a tiny bit of darkness to that, that is absolutely like the magma wall, 100%.
So I'm not saying your aura is this color, but I'm saying it could easily be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and it's something like dark. I think that the dark Scorpio colors don't need to be, thought of as like this like Batman kind of like evil kind of thing. They're dark and warm and welcoming, in addition to being kind of forbidding and intimidating. They can be both, because it's like, oh God, it's like Dracula's cloak, which is black on the outside and red on the inside.
There you go.
And he opens his arms and he just welcomes you in, and you're like, oh yes, embrace me, Dracula. All right, I know I'm not making the case for Scorpio here, but if you know, you know.
Yeah. So even if we talk about hair colors this week, we're looking at this sort of tone of this puce. I'll put a link in the below of the Caput Mortem, because it's a color I'm using very well. It's better than gray if you're shading for faces and whatnot.
Yeah.
So better than, I was using Payne's gray for a long time, but I'm loving this color now, especially now in my
shadows. That is a gorgeous color.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the aura. So, and of course, if you're happy, apparently your aura glows more. And if you're ill, it's kind of look thin and whatnot. So if you are able to see auras, then look to the first house to see the likely colors it's likely to be.
Totally. And I mean, this brings up things like the kind of jewelry that you wear, the kind of things that you wear to offset or augment whatever personality traits you want to bring forward. There's this wonderful website, and I don't actually know what it is because I have the link on my other laptop, blah, blah, blah. If I find it over the course of the week, I will send it to you, and then we can use the link. But it's one of those things where you can choose. It's a whole series of gemstones, and it's beautiful, super high res pictures of like all these different rocks and stones, like hematite and whatever. Like that's the only one that comes to mind right now. The turquoise, all the different types of gemstones, not like sapphires and rubies, but like the rock. Rocks, right? And the kind of thing that you'd find at like a rock show or whatever, a rock store where I like this rock, whatever, and what they mean, and the kind of things like if you carry one around with you, it's protective.
That's
or it
right.
Gives you strength. Or
these crystal things.
Yeah, exactly. But you can choose like 3, whichever ones appeal to you at that moment.
Yes.
And then you click it, and then it gives you the meaning of all the three, and it's almost like a little personality test or a little snapshot of your needs and emotional wants at the time.
Okay.
And it can tell you if you need protection, or if you need comfort, or if you need strengthening, or if you need to be more social, or that kind of thing.
Well, we'll get that link, and I'll definitely put it in the show notes.
It's lovely. Yeah. And this is a very first house thing. It's like, okay, is there something I can hold or use or wear?
Crystals in your pocket's always a good thing. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my mother brought, I think when he was having some sort of surgery, my mother brought up this little, I can't remember the kind of rock, but it's like a heart-shaped black and white stone, and it's a healing stone, a protecting stone. And every time he's changed purses or man bags or whatever they're calling them these days, it's always in one of those little pockets at the bottom. I was rifling around for mints the other day, and I saw it, and I was like, oh, you still carry this around? He's like, yeah, of course. Oh, my God. My mother gave it to me. Of course I'm going to carry it around.
Wow. Interesting. Yeah. Super interesting. Yeah. Okay. And how about this next main theme for the first house? And it's personality.
Yeah.
Which is, and I want to specify here that personality is first house and character is the sun and your behavior is the moon. So there is that difference there.
Yeah.
So, but personality is what people see first. They see your first house before they get to know your heart, which is your sun, and certainly before they get to know you emotionally as well. So this really is this front thing, and it shows personality. So do you have a big personality? Do you have a difficult personality?
Right.
And are you playing to your strengths? It's, as I say, on my days off, then it's Leo all the way. But if I, have a formal engagement or I have to go, well, previously when I had to support my husband in his business, I was the mouse woman because I had to rein it in.
Yeah.
So your personality either comes over, well, it will come over either way.
Yeah.
But I'm not one to gush about, for instance, astrology first. I never bring it up first.
Oh, no, me neither.
Yeah, but if someone mentions, astrology, blah, blah, I'll say, oh, yes. And then I can join the conversation.
Yeah.
It's like one of those topics like politics and religion. I just don't bring it up first. Yeah. But if someone opens with it, I'm happy to step in and talk about it.
Yeah. If I know people well enough, I might jokingly say, that's because I'm a Virgo or something like that.
Yes.
And then, if I see their eyes perk up or whatever, then I'll be like, what time were you born? Yeah.
So you got that too, that personality. Yeah. What type of personality? Is she bubbly? Right. Is she serious? This and that. It shows through that.
So what was the key word you said for the sun versus
character?
Character. Okay, so character is something that we think of as more permanent. Your character is about your moral code and all that stuff.
Your integrity.
Are you a good person? Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can go through phases and you can go through ups and downs in life, but your character seemingly is something that's a little bit more solid. Your personality can absolutely change over the course of your life. People become, they go through a rebellious phase. They go through, they may be different with a different partner. They may express themselves in a completely different way. And then they get divorced or they change jobs. And then almost like, 180 personality wise, or they may, this is the kind of typical thing. They may be very liberal and rebellious in their youth. And then all of a sudden, once they have family and kids and, a mortgage, they become kind of conservative and, and whatever. So your personality is something that's very, not fluid, but it's changeable.
It can change.
It very much so over the years. And why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't we want that? Some people I've heard say, oh, people don't change. Well, whatever happened in your life that made you feel that way, and that's sad that you believe that. But character is something that's a little bit more solid and permanent. But your personality, 100% changes absolutely over time. I mean, just think about if you're our age, what were you doing? How are you believing things like 20 years ago, 25 years ago?
Very different.
Exactly.
Very different.
And it should be.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember, back in the day, Margaret Thatcher said about Tony Blair, too much personality, not enough character, which was quite a slap in the face.
Yeah.
So a lot of flash, but not much there, or,
Yeah. Tough cookie she was.
Whether it was true or not, I don't know, but he was just that kind of personality, wasn't he?
I mean, I'm sure to say that. I'm not British, obviously, and I'm not sort of a royal watcher, but I did watch The Crown all these seasons.
Oh yeah.
And so when you say Tony Blair, I instantly think of what's his name who played him on the
Martin Sheen.
Yeah. Oh, he's so awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've loved him in a lot of shows, but yeah.
Yes, yes. He was the only one who didn't become a lord afterwards because he messed up. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
But he was flashy at the time, very much like Justin Trudeau. It's the hair, it's the glamour.
Right.
It's
and at the time, Clinton, they were
personality.
Yeah.
So where's the character? Where's the character?
Yeah.
And so you consider that too if you're trying to get into a romantic relationship with somebody. Know that you're seeing personality on your first date, but you've got to get to the character, which is the sun, and then behaviors, which is the moon. So interesting. Yeah. And then the final thought I have on the first house as keywords here is vitality.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that for the health houses, the main health house is your sixth house, that's your everyday health and what have you. And these are sixth house health issues are those you recover from. Yeah. And 12th house issues are those that will kill you, basically. But your vitality and how do you bounce back? Will you fight for whatever your illness is? That is shown in your first house. Do you want to get out of that hospital bed, or are you happy to just languish there for another 2 weeks, saying, "Oh no, I'm too ill." Yeah. And there was one in that Mad Men when Don Draper said to the secretary, "Get out of this bed and go and live your life," and she just got up and walked out. Yeah. Because the thing back then was that you had to lay there and recover. Yeah. Because they didn't have the drugs and whatnot. But really, you've got to get out of the bed and get on with your life. How is your vitality? Yeah. Are you going to fight back? Are you not going to give up? Or are you going to say, "This disease is killing me, I can't cope"? Yeah. So
that's an interesting one.
It is. And when I was younger, I didn't really know what it meant, but as I get older, I do. And are you going to fight for it, or are you going to fight for your life? Basically, that's what it is. So yeah.
And would you say that that's about the sign on the cusp or the planets in the first house?
Both.
Well, both. Yeah.
Yeah. Really. If you've got planets there, it's more likely to come forward.
Right. And then the sign on the cusp is how you handle illness or how you handle like threats to your vitality.
Yeah. It's yeah. So it's one of those. It's not really a health house, but it's something you could look at as an astrology to see, are they going to recover from that car accident? When are they going to walk again? And you need to look there for vitality. Do they have the will to live?
If there is something like a long rehabilitation process or something like that.
Or you're on some ghastly drugs or something.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so I think now we're going to chat a little bit about each of the planets when they're in the first house, just to give a bit of a clue of what's going on. I also want to point out that if you've got a retrograde planet in the first house, when that planet by transit goes retrograde, you will survive it better. So if you've got retrograde Mercury in your first house, anytime Mercury is retrograde in the future or now, you will survive it better than the guy next door who doesn't have Mercury retrograde. Yes. So let's just have a look at just some of the planets all the planets in the first house. Why don't I say some? We're always going to do them all, aren't we?
We certainly should.
We certainly are.
Yeah.
So the sun in the first house. Here I'm saying confident and proactive. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I have to put my hand up to this one. Yeah. So it makes me the double Leo, the Leo ascendant, the Leo sun, and confident and proactive. Yes.
My partner also has the sun in the first house.
Oh, does he? So he's a double Scorpio?
No, he's got Scorpio sun and Libra rising.
Ah, okay, but he's still a first house sun. That's what we're getting to.
Sun. Exactly.
Very interesting. And he's confident.
Yeah, and very proactive.
And he's got something to say, hasn't he?
Yeah, today was election day in Canada, and I was like, I don't want to. And he was like, well, we have to vote.
Yes.
Dragged my ass out.
Yes, we had to vote. It was raining and we had to vote.
Oh, there wasn't a line though. We went at the right time. It was just like
up at the church.
Yeah, literally just walked in and it was one and done in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Anyway, but not to brag about our election process.
No.
Yeah. It's fine. But proactive. For sure.
So this is confident. So first house sun tend to be supremely confident, perhaps even overly confident, and also self-confident. Yeah. So and it's all right for them, but it's not always all right for other people. A lot of people just choke me down. They're just not interested, and so be it. But it is what it is, and as I say, when I'm in a position of diminutive role, I will definitely shut it down. But give me half a chance, and I've got an opinion, or I will say something about the other. But generally, I wouldn't say I'm that overconfident at all. But I'm okay. Yeah, I don't. Yeah. Arwynne, what I'm saying.
I love that about you. I love a confident person.
Yeah. And then if we have the moon in the first house, so here I'm saying emotionally expressive and sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the person who will burst into tears.
Yeah.
They will say, oh, when they see a road accident,
Yeah.
whereas the rest of us are just dialing 911 and walking past. They will start getting upset and so on.
Yeah.
So they're emotionally expressive. And also, I think, too, they can't hide their emotions. So you've got that where they are saying, I'm upset, and you're going to know.
Yeah. And they can tell when other people are upset. And sometimes maybe they'll have to, depending on what sign is on the cusp, they may have to build a sort of support structure around themselves so that they're not too influenced by other people's emotions, because they can be overwhelmed by them.
Yeah. And this is the person when they say on TV, this is a sensitive topic. It might not be for all viewers. That's who we're talking about.
Or, I mean, yes, I agree. But it also could be a thing where they are very attracted to those types of topics.
Yes.
Because it's part of their personality.
Because
that emotional thing is part of their personality, and they want to experience the depth of emotions. And they might be attracted to what we would consider the dark side of, like, oh, have you seen this? Did you know about this? And we're like, oh, wow.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
They know all the dirt.
Yeah. Do you have any planets in your first house?
I personally do not.
Okay,
no.
so you've dodged a bullet there, literally. Yeah. So then with Venus in the first house, I'm suggesting...
Oh, Mercury.
Oh, what happened to Mercury? Yes. Apologies.
Yeah.
Mercury in the first house, quick-witted and self-aware.
Yeah.
So this is the quick-witted. They've got a wit, they've got a charm, they've got the words.
A natural conversationalist.
Yes, open chit-chat. Do you know anybody with this position?
My partner also has that. Mercury.
Every time I see the guy, which is probably for 30 seconds, he's got a lot to say in that 30 seconds. He's not standing there like saying nothing. No way.
He's never at a loss for words.
Never at a loss for words.
There's never an awkward silence.
No. Well, no.
Yeah.
But I remember the one day he was saying, how are you doing this? And are you doing that? And are you doing... I said, what is this? 20 questions, But... It's the communication, wanting to get the information, how you doing, this and that, blah, 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 what you doing, where we're going, what time we're going to do it, da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
And are you aware of this and that? And I assume that up to date on the news in a general way as well. I also, unfortunately, have to put my hand up to this one. Oh. But, I've got an opinion. Yeah. And I think that's how it comes through. It's if you ask me, I will tell you what I think. But and it benefits me with the writing as well. My newsletters. Yeah. But it's growing unbelievably. It's growing well, and people are signing up. And I'm telling you what I want to tell you.
Yeah, that's awesome. I find that's a really interesting difference, because you and my partner both have Sun and Mercury in the first house. Yeah. And that absolutely comes through in your personalities when you meet in face-to-face. I have Sun and Mercury in the 10th house. So you might not think I'm as talkative and outgoing
I don't think you are.
Me, but professionally, my job is communications. And so it all comes channeling through my work. And of course, the blog that I have, even though my blog is personal, that's a professional
blog,
right? Yeah. So it's interesting.
It is. It's there. It's definitely there. It's
Yeah.
And for years I saw it as the teacher, because I taught astrology for probably, 15 odd years, not so much anymore. And I'm winding it down this year. But the newsletter, because this is really what people want. They want to know, well, what do you think about this, Alison? Well, let me tell you what I think.
Oh, that is really cool. So I could totally see that as being just someone who is a natural at explaining things to other people.
Yeah.
Because actually, you both do that. He teaches other people music.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And this writing thing, I'm now to 41 books on Amazon. Oh, hell yes. But it's just a matter of putting the stuff out there. And I continue, the flow continues. Yeah. It's like killer whale. The flow is coming, and it just keeps coming.
That's awesome.
So quick-witted and self-aware. Personally, I would say I am witty, and I appreciate someone who is witty and has a sense of humor, because I can immediately respond and go with it.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm in a position where I'm talking to someone and I'm cracking a joke and they're going, huh? Okay, we're done. I haven't got time. All right, so let's have a look at Venus in the first house. Now, neither you or I have this for once.
Yeah.
So here I'm saying charming and graceful.
Yeah.
This is someone they will charm your pants off, as the saying goes. They are graceful. They are delightful. They have nice things to say. They will say, oh, I love your necklace. And you believe it.
Yeah. And they care about how they dress.
Oh, yes.
They care about how their home is appointed.
Yes.
If you're invited over, they will make you feel welcome.
Yes.
You'll be like, oh,
your children are so beautiful. Your
Right.
husband is charming.
Yeah.
And you think, oh, and you lap it all up.
Yeah. And maybe once the doors close and you're gone, that they start fighting and the kids are disheveled, but they would never let you see that.
I would, well, what was she doing wearing that shade of eyeshadow? But they will still make you feel good.
Yeah.
So, oh, your hair looks fabulous. And you go, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
That's Venus first house. Charming and grateful.
Yeah.
Graceful.
Yeah.
And then we get to Mars in the first house. So here we've got something different.
Yeah.
I'm saying driven and assertive.
Yeah.
I want to say pushy.
Yeah.
So driven is somebody who get up and go. Their personality is, let's do it now.
Mm-hmm.
And let's do it right now.
Yeah.
And because it's Mars, they tend to wear a red shirt, a red tie. This is our favorite politician wearing red ties. Whereas Clinton always wore a yellow tie. Reagan always wore brown, and our new guys, he's wearing red. So anyway, you've got Mars there.
And my grandmother had Mars in the first house.
Yeah.
And boy, was she
assertive.
Even
though she was diminutive, because I was reading her blog about how short she was.
Yeah, 5'1", and just a powerhouse of a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So these are people not to be ignored, and yet they won't notice if you don't come along with them. They're just doing their thing.
Yeah.
They're pushing forward because it's Mars. It's gladiator time.
Totally.
And go for it. And this is who you want. This is your front man.
And bright flame orange was her color.
Oh,
yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. Lava orange. Yes. So that's Mars. And then we get to Jupiter. So Jupiter in the first house, my keywords here are expansive and optimistic.
Yeah.
So the expansion can also apply to your physical body. So what we're saying is you get big. You can also be tall.
Yeah.
And you can have big feet and all of these things. So that's something to watch out for too. But they're expansive, they're optimistic. They are always seeing the bright side of life. Their personality is outgoing, favorable, if not depth-wise, but they definitely are a fun. They're good at a party,
friendly, optimistic.
Yes, cheerful, and so on. So so that's quite a nice placement too.
Oh, that's a great placement.
Yeah. And then we get to Saturn in the first house, and here I'm saying mature and reserved.
Yeah. Serious.
So even when they're young, 18, 19, 20, they're looking mature. They're looking older than their years, and but they understand things. And this is someone who's actually has a reserved personality. They're not pushing forward. They're not giving opinions.
Yeah.
They are sort of in the background, dare I say, plodding along, and eventually think, he's reliable.
Yeah.
So, as a personality, if that's what you're looking for, then Saturn would be, they're reliable.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly.
And of course, this will be colored by what's on the cusp as well. I mean, you could have Saturn in the first house and have Aries rising, and that would be a very different type of reliable than Pisces rising or Capricorn rising, or
But this does tend to be someone who looks older than their years, which is fine. It's
especially
fine.
When you're younger. Some of us, we're desperate to look older than our years when we were teenagers or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we look at Uranus in the first house, independent and original.
Yeah.
So this is now an outer planet in the first house. So you're going to be aware of this planet, whereas normally your outer planets won't step forward. But if in the first house, they do.
Yeah.
So I do have to put my hand up to this one as well.
Ooh.
I know. And of course, we know Uranus rules astrology.
Yeah,
so
we do.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Yes, she's an astrologer. Yes, it's Uranus in the first house. And yes, I'm going to give you my opinion. So...
You're the living proof of astrology here.
Well, maybe so. But I do, and when we say independent, I have in the past and even today, I have done independent research on astrology and got, when I did the Oriental Planet and all of those things and the dispositor trees, all original research that was done in my field that I have put forward. So I'm not just sucking out of other who went forward. I'm quite happy to give you my original opinion. And not everybody agrees with me. Yeah. I get the emails to prove it.
Oh.
But...
Are they actually arguing with you in an original way, though?
Well,
that's the thing. Is it Are they coming up with something that you're like, oh, I hadn't thought of that? Or is it just...
No, they're questioning my, why am I saying this? And I'm saying, because I've done original research to prove it.
Yeah.
And whereas over 500 charts can't be wrong. So it's that sort of thing, but I'm having to defend myself against these things.
It'd be another thing if it was someone coming up with, an actual rebuttal.
Right.
Where they had done a bunch of research and found something different.
Exactly. That doesn't
then you
happen.
could have a conversation. Yeah. That would be interesting. A debate.
Yes, but because it's Uranus, it's new and independent and original, whereas many people who follow astrology are quite happy to go with astrologers who lived 50 odd years ago or 100 years ago or 2,000 years ago. They are correct.
Yeah.
And their boring old interpretations stand, and I'm coming with some other ideas, and why wouldn't I?
They're like, but this represents the gallbladder, and this means blah, blah,
yes.
blah. Come on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what are we saying? That now Facebook, which is new, is standing by Uranus. But anyway, so that independent comes through there, so I do get pushback on that, but that won't stop me.
Yeah.
And here we are doing this podcast as living proof.
Yes, indeed.
And original. I think we do an original podcast, Arwynne, because we're not just doing horoscopes and saying, oh, well, Neptune's gone into Aries, and oh, well, it's the new moon on Friday, and oh, well, this and that.
Yeah.
We're talking about, I think, more deeper astrology that you can use to read charts.
Yeah, and it's deeper. It's evergreen. It's educational. It's something that people can come to years from now and pick up, oh, they talked about this house, or they talked about this aspect.
Yes.
And they can absorb it and not be like, oh, well, that is over. That was just that week or whatever.
Exactly.
It's just ethereal. We're not into the ethereal. We're into the eternal.
Well, there you go. So, and again, the reason that we decided to do our style of podcast was because we couldn't find anything that suited us.
Yes, exactly. I was complaining about how there weren't any astrology podcasts that were really interesting to me.
Maybe how to read a chart podcast.
A couple of them, yeah.
Yeah.
But, I thought we had something to contribute, and we do, it turns out.
Absolutely. So, and, 10, 12 years on, here we are. We're still going strong. So we're quite happy sharing our opinion there as well. Totally. So, so that's great that we're doing independent and original and with no, what's the word, apologies for it. Yeah. Okay, so let's have a look at Neptune in the first house. So here I'm saying dreamy and mysterious. So this is the person who is ethereal. They're wearing those flowy, roby things, dreamy-eyed, soft colours, cyans, blues, sea greens, and that kind of shell necklaces and whatnot. And it's fine, they're mysterious, maybe.
Yeah, or seductive in some way, or glamorous.
Glamorous, yes.
Because those are very Neptunian words.
Yes.
Maybe they have a way of sort of mesmerizing you with their conversation or with their presence.
Yes.
And you find yourself kind of talking to them and then losing track of time.
Oh. Excellent. So,
Or maybe they're super into film or photography or Neptunian things. Art, So music. Music is Neptunian, for sure.
Very good. Yes. So
they have a beautiful singing voice or
there you go.
Some kind of musical talent.
Or opera singers or something. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All righty. And then if we look at Pluto in the first house, here I'm saying intense and transformative.
Yeah.
This is someone who transforms themselves, like I want to say every 10 years. And they're with this, then they're with that, then they're with the next thing.
Yeah.
And they are constantly going through transformation to improve who they are. Self-improvement was probably made for this person.
Yeah. Or climbing the corporate ladder, like fascinated with power.
Yes.
Always aware of who's the most important person in the room.
Yes.
Whereas for me, I couldn't
care less.
I wouldn't notice. I sometimes, in my corporate world where everyone's name and title are available to me, I find I will know someone for months and I work only remotely. So this is not a thing of like going into an office and like, oh, who's in the corner office? Well, no, it's all remote. So you actually have to kind of like look in their bio or their signature or whatever, right click on the Zoom thing.
Yeah.
I will know someone for months and not even know what level they are, what title they have. Like, are they a VP? Are they, oh, wow, that person's like higher than this person. I didn't know.
Yeah.
But these people with Pluto in the first house, is very aware of that, very aware of the pecking order of where they stand in it and where they want to be. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Years ago, we lived in a small town called Palabora, and there was and it was a mining town, right? So my husband worked at the mine, and when we got there new, and these women invite you around for tea, right? And her first question to me was, what does your husband do? That is a question that always annoys me because why do you care what my husband does? It's more, aren't you interested in what I'm doing? And that annoyed me. But she definitely wanted to know what he was in the mine. And she had her little telephone directory saying, going through the list, what was his name again? And to see what stages he was, whether or not we were higher on the pecking order than her husband.
Yeah, you get the feeling you're being graded. Oh,
yes.
Yeah, okay.
And it actually hadn't
got next to your name.
It hadn't got his designation because he was so new. And she said, but what does he do at the mine? I thought, does it matter? Well, apparently it did.
Who does your report to?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh.
So, yes. So that was an interesting maneuver that she played on me. And frequently there in that situation, the first opening question to me was, what does your husband do?
Oh, wow.
Yep. And that was, for me, we're done. Yeah. But you get it.
I do. Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah. So then finally, let's have a look at Chiron in the first house.
Yeah.
Tricky. So vulnerable and healing. So at the same time. So, of course, we know that Chiron's the wounded healer. So I don't want to say you've got a wound that you're healing. What I want to say is that you may be vulnerable to feeling that you're not good enough because it's your first house personality. So you're saying, well, am I really good enough to run with that crowd? Yeah. Am I really good enough to be one of the, I don't know.
You feel like you're always the rebel or the underdog, or that you're always making up for something.
Can I be in the popular group, or should I be here with the nerds? Or I don't know how these things work. Yeah. But it's to do with self-healing as well, because it's the first house is yourself. So heal yourself, build your confidence, and overcome Chiron.
And being someone who overcomes things and who has gone through crises and come back from them will be a strong part of your personality.
Yes.
You may find you'd be the kind of person who would tell stories about, there was this horrific car accident I was in and I recovered from it, but it was a long and arduous blah, blah, blah. Or coming back from a learning disability or some sort of family trauma or something. Yes. All these things that shape us in scar tissue, the emotional scars or the physical scars. Yeah. People who will come back from something, and that's part of their identity.
Yes. And I think this placement makes people think they're just not good enough. And of course they are. You and I know that. Yeah. But inside, in the heart of hearts, I think, my personality, I'm not quite good enough here to join that group or to be part of this or to put my name forward or whatever it is. Yeah. So heal yourself.
Right. And it could be a thing where maybe an injury or a disability or what's the word? Something that they've suffered through has made them feel like they're not good enough to do something or to accomplish what they need to. Yeah. But yet it's made them stronger individually. It's made them, but it makes them sort of they kind of have this sort of a fighter, but it's not like the Martian kind of fighting. It's the fighting from beneath and just kind of always feeling like they're having to claw their way up in the world.
I think that's a thing. So it needs to be addressed. Yeah. So
good one.
Okay, and then finally the North Node in the first house.
Yeah, and I mean the North Node is one of my little favorites.
Is it?
Yeah, I like a North Node interpretation. I actually have quite a few books on the North Node. They're all very slim, very small books, but they're utterly fascinating. And I find it, maybe it's because I'm super interested in mythology, and the North Node is such a mythical kind of thing because it's about the hero's journey, right? From the South Node to the North Node. It's about your journey from either the past life to the current life, or your whatever you brought through your ancestral history, and you're bringing sort of a family legacy into the current thing, and you're having to overcome something that you're trying to leave in the past, which is the South Node, and you're moving towards something. So I'm thinking like Succession and all these sort of family legacy sort of shows or movies. But the North Node in the first house, I think, is where everything about the North Node is about your identity. It's about integrating everything that you've done in the past. Seventh house is the opposite. So your South Node would be in the seventh house. So your partnerships feed into your identity, and it's about separating yourself and making your personal your your actual personal expression in the world, your focal point. So
Right.
it's taking whatever, all of your partnerships, be they romantic or business or whatever, and folding that into something that you can present as yourself, and somehow separating that so you're not seen as the wife of whatever.
Yeah.
It's not about the, what does your husband do, but what do I do? So,
Right.
So really carving that out and taking the initiative to express yourself authentically and to make your identity and your confidence and your leadership, if that's a thing, or just leading by example. Yeah. And not feeling like you need to always be in the shadow of someone, because you won't tolerate that. You won't tolerate that anymore with the North Node and the first house. That's something that's going to always be compelling you to be in the spotlight more and to present yourself more and to not just kind of let someone else lead.
Right. So you're going to take the driving, get in the driving seat of your own life, as it were. Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah. Okay, so we've looked at some of the planets in the first house. Let's have a look at some of the transits to the first house.
Yeah.
Because if you've got nothing in the first house, you're going to be relying on your transits coming through, I would assume, right? Every year you'll get the sun transit in your first house. What is this, your personal solar new year? You're stepping from the dark into the light.
Yeah.
It's a time to be yourself, really. I think the spotlight's on you personally. A good time to get a haircut, a makeover, what have you.
It's when it crosses your ascendant.
Yeah. Okay. So when the first it's a powerful time to focus on your goals, refresh your image, and make a strong first impression. Yeah. It's a good time.
So pay attention to where your ascendant is and think about where that is in the
because it'll happen at the same time every year.
Absolutely. So if you have Aries rising, that'll be in the spring. If you have Leo rising, it'll be in the summer. Etc.
Happens every sun transits are actually very interesting.
It is super interesting.
They're often dismissed, but anyway, So then the moon transiting the first house. So this will happen every month. The moon will come round and go through your first house. Yeah. And for about 2.5 days. And here I'm saying that emotionals rise to the surface and you might feel more sensitive than usual. You know.
Yeah, as people do. Once a month.
One does. Sometimes. And so this will happen generally at different times each month, but it's going to happen once a month. So you're going to get that emotional thing that expresses itself through the self.
Yes, totally.
And then Mercury transiting the first house, this will happen every year, and it is closely related to when the sun comes through too. So here your thoughts are centered around yourself and your identity. So you tend to be talking about yourself, thinking about yourself, and what your next move is going to be. Yeah,
that makes sense. And you'd also probably want to pay attention to whether the Mercury is going retrograde in your...
Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of chitter-chatter. Your name will be mentioned and so on.
Reinvention.
Yes. Yeah. So that's Mercury transiting the first house. And then, of course, the other one would be Venus going through your first house, again following the sun. So every year this will happen.
Makeover time.
But this is the time to get your hair cut. So time to get the junk out your closet, to take on some new colours, to get with it fashionably.
Yeah.
And stop wearing things from 10 years ago.
Yeah, totally.
Get your hair cut.
Yeah.
I keep saying this, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
You're making sure that you're looking good, and you get rid of your old junk shoes, get some proper clothes, pull yourself together.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we get Mars transiting the first house. So this happens every 2 years. And this transit brings drive, motivation, and assertiveness.
Yeah.
Get things done for you.
Yes.
Get things done the way you want them to be done.
Yeah. Make a plan for your activities, your workout, whatever, your job.
If you join the gym.
Do something that is actually going to take advantage of that extra boost of Mars in the first house.
Yeah. Break a sweat. Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah.
Move stuff out of storage, whatever. Something that's laborious and takes actual drive and initiative.
And then we get to Jupiter transiting the first house. Now, this will only happen once in 12 years.
Yeah.
But it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So you are likely to what? Gain weight.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Gain a bigger personality. Yes. Maybe become overbearing. Yes. So,
Yeah. Put yourself forward somehow. Yeah.
Promote yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
And as with all Jupiter transits, this is something that can go just passing by and you won't even notice. Yeah. But if you know it's coming, you can really take advantage of it and you can make the most of it.
Yeah, you could set up your own website.
Yeah.
Your own, get your name out there and present yourself the way you want to.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, then Saturn transiting the first house. Now, this will only happen every 30 years.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for me, I'm not having it for another 10 years. I don't know where you are on this scale. You've just had it recently, right? So anyway, when Saturn goes through your first house, it feels like a period of self-reflection and responsibility. It gets piled on you.
Yeah.
So it's a 2.5-year period where perhaps you have to do what you're supposed to do, your due diligence. How boring is this? But this is Saturn. Build a strategy to get you through the day.
Yeah.
Organize your life. So you've got your, I want to say you've got your clothes ready, you've got your lunch ready, you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Don't wing it. Don't wing it with Saturn there.
Fortify whatever it is that you need to make your personality stronger, to make yourself stronger.
Yes. Work on your LinkedIn profile at this point as well to say, well, or change or use your full name instead of I'm Billy. Now you're actually William, or something.
Yeah, to be taken more seriously.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Or, well, you have to change your name. Why not,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And then a Uranus transit of the first house. So this is every, 84 years. So you're only likely to get this really once in your lifetime unless you live past 84, which we all aim to do.
Yeah.
But personally for me, this was when I was a kid. It's long gone of being that annoying brat. Clearly I must have been. So it's you may feel a strong urge to break free from old patterns.
Yeah.
And be something unique. Be your true. Let the true you come through.
Yeah, and you won't be able to help it. It'll be.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
People are going to choke you down, or
yeah.
People
will be like, "What? Why are you causing trouble? Why are you?"
Yes.
You won't be able to help it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a tricky one. Yeah. And then let's look at Neptune transiting the first house. So this is every 100 and something odd years. So you're only ever going to get this once, if then. I won't get it in my life the way Neptune's placed in my chart. It's never happening for me. It's going to be there for probably 13 years when it does. So this could be a dreamlike quality of how others see you. Yeah. And you might struggle with boundaries and clarity.
Yeah.
So there you are.
Yeah. You might be able to recreate yourself in a mysterious fashion and create a sort of another persona for yourself.
Oh, sure, you'd have multiple ones with the Neptune there, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And then we've got Pluto transiting the first house. Yowza. Yeah. So your identity and how you present yourself to the world will undergo deep change. This will only ever happen once in your life.
Yeah.
Deep change, personality change, transformation of yourself on a deep level all the way through from your boots, the whole thing.
Yeah. And this happened to me when I was it crossed my ascendant when I was around 11.
Really?
So it was in my first house for quite a while. Yeah.
Yes.
Very formative years from 11 to,
Were you transformative?
Oh my God. I changed my hair color a bunch of times. I changed my personal style a bunch of times. I was an artist.
Yes.
I wouldn't
Were
say
you gothic.
I went through a brief goth period.
Yes.
It wasn't all that successful because I do like colors and
yes.
And then we moved from Seattle where it's very goth to Charlottesville, Virginia, where it's absolutely not goth.
Okay.
And I tried wearing my black leather jacket and having my dark stormy kind of thing, but in a school where like my entire class was like 17 people, it was pretty hard to maintain a dark and stormy nature. But there was a lot of self-transformation and a lot of reinvention. And I was kind of obsessed with my as a teenager, I think a lot of us go through it.
It must have been a difficult time.
It was incredibly difficult. Yeah. And I was constantly assessing how people perceived me, which was very different from how I felt that I was or how I wanted to be perceived.
You were projecting.
It was constantly a crisis of why do they think of me this way? Why am I constantly being treated this way? Why can't I make friends or make, whatever? Or, what do I want to do with my life? And obviously high school is a time where we all have to decide what we want to do with our lives, future. But it went through all these different stages of just reassessment and transformation. And it wasn't at all clear until my senior year of high school what I was even going to, try to pursue in college or as a career, because I had these kind of very different ideas at the beginning of the Pluto transit about what I wanted to do in the world. Yeah. So I can't recommend it.
No, it's got to be the tough one. It's got to be the tough one. And not everyone will experience it. I will never experience this, but you went through it in a very difficult time. And it transformed you.
For
You
sure.
were a different person coming out than you were going in. So
Yeah.
that's the thing with these transits,
Yeah.
right?
And I think I can't say that it made me more sympathetic. I think that came later.
Okay.
But it made me very protective of my personality. So I think a lot of the influences that could have been harmful from the external world, I definitely, along with, the fact that I have Scorpio rising, I think that Pluto transit to my first house in those formative years really helped me to be very self-possessed and not influenced by a lot of the harmful influences that could have really, shaken,
change your life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I just wouldn't entertain it at all. I think I dodged a lot of bullets, and a lot of it was because of that powerful influence in my first house when I was very young. And what some people would think of as vulnerable years were not at all. They were. Okay. I was not vulnerable in those years. I was definitely. Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah. It's very interesting. So I mean, 1 in 12 will have gone through this, but
right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's not something to fear, but if you're going through it in a later age and you see it coming, I would definitely lean into it and think, okay, this is the time to fortify, my identity. And if I've been trodden on at all, or
you can stand up.
Exactly. It's time for.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Wow, that's the positive spin on that.
I'm all about reclaiming Pluto as a positive influence.
And then Chiron transiting the first house. This will happen once in your life if you're 50-ish. So old wounds related to your identity or physical presence may resurface, asking for healing and understanding. Mm-hmm. So this might be a time when you feel unsure of yourself. Mm-hmm. And of course, we all do it sometimes. And it's a time to learn more about yourself. And I would say lean into that. If we, explore yourself and your self-personality, make sure that you are being true and authentic with yourself. And then Chiron can help you heal. I want to say that.
Totally. Yeah. And that you're not living out some sort of trauma from the past over and over again. That you're either
move on.
Setting aside the trauma, or using it to make yourself stronger, or using it to help others.
Yeah.
And you can't just wallow in it. That's the definite Chiron transit meaning, I think.
Yes. Excellent. That's a great interpretation. Yeah. Okay, so we've been looking at the first house. We've been looking at some of the major themes in the first house. We've also then considered some of the planets when found in the first house natally. And we've also briefly gone over some of the transits of the other planets, or all the planets, when they transit your first house. So there's quite a bit going on in this house. Yeah. It's an important house, if not the most important house in a chart.
Yeah.
And Arwynne's got no planets there. I have 3, so we've all gone through all of that.
Yeah.
But it's a great house, and if you're working with houses, it's probably the one you're going to start with, and why not?
Yeah, I agree.
If you found value in this episode, please do consider sharing it with anybody who would be interested. Make sure you're getting our newsletter, and you can sign up at starzology.com/newsletter. And also make sure that you're getting Arwynne's newsletter, and you can find her at...
You can find me at mspink.net. That's mspink.net. And I am sending out my weekly newsletter every Saturday, talking about art and books and movies and nostalgia and my kind of personal history and a lot of things that interest me.
Yeah, a lot of fun going on there. Yeah. So that's every Saturday with Arwynne.
Yeah.
So Arwynne, I want to thank you for joining me again here for this first house episode. I don't know what took us so long to get to this one.
Right? Yeah, it's been a great one.
It has. Thank you so much for joining me.
And see you next time.
Yeah, and thanks to our listeners, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for getting this far through the episode. I just want to take a moment to tell you about the 2 main options of my astrology services. So the first one is coaching. If you are an aspiring astrologer, and by that I mean someone who's perhaps a hobbyist astrologer, or someone who's learning astrology, or a student, or you've got a few books and you've been doing it for a while, but perhaps you need a little bit of help to bring it all together, then maybe getting some astrological coaching from me would be the answer for you. The astrology coaching I offer is a 1-hour session on Zoom, and it's tailored to answer your particular questions. For example, if you have issues with natal chart readings, we can go there. Or if you're having problems working with your forecasting, we can go there. Or even basic astrology stuff, or even getting yourself organized for your astrology business. The idea is that astrological coaching will answer your particular questions. It's tailored specifically to you and where you are in your astrological journey. And I'm happy to help you out with some guidance about how you can get going, what to focus on, and what to dismiss. So that would be the astrological coaching for people trying to learn astrology. The second astrological service I offer is consultations. So this is for someone who perhaps doesn't know anything about astrology, but they just want to have their chart read or get their chart done. Call it what you will. So once more, this is a 1-hour consultation over Zoom. I will interpret your chart, tell you about the main features, tell you about where the energy is flowing, and all the rest of what is entailed in a thorough natal chart interpretation. I can also add in some forecasting in there too, bearing in mind we only have 1 hour. So just in summary, I've got coaching for people who want to learn astrology, and I've got consultations for those who want to get an astrology reading done. I'm Alison Price from Starzology.com. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.